Hello, Phil Crossy. If you've just finished watching me talking about the place in Italy, then you'll recognise this road because I've literally just started it again. I'm looking to keep these films a reasonable bite size so that you don't get bored titless of me. You can come in and out as you like, basically. So yeah, I'm talking about trips and the kind of experience you get when you're on the road. Sometimes, you know, it's just like I'm doing here. I'm hitting hotel to hotel. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I actually love this trip on my own. It's been different in respect of I've not particularly had to worry too much about. Bearing in mind, I was the one that used to book the trips and stuff. I've not had to worry too much about whether somebody else in the group is actually happy with the place I've picked, because you know, when you try and do it where you're keeping the costs as reasonable as you possibly can. We're not staying in spa hotels all the time, and by doing that, sometimes the places you stay are not something that somebody within the group is particularly happy about. I ain't got to worry about that on this trip. If I book a hotel and it turns out to be a shit tip, but that's down to me. You know, I'll make the most of it. But for the most part, the hotels I've stayed in have been, you know, really nice. You know, really nice. Some of the rooms have been small, but they have been really comfortable. So, you know, it's that. So speaking about, there was a group of I think 7 or 8 of us, and again, although we had a destination venue booked through like the owners abroad type thing, which is now part and parcel, I think, of Airbnb. We didn't have anything planned on the route because we weren't looking to be tied down to that, and it was a case of taking our chances really, which, if you think about it, was maybe a bit foolish. You know, we didn't have camping kit with us as a backup, but you know, it is what it is. You learn as you go, really. So we were stuck with somewhere to stay, and we finished up pulling over in this small town, if for no other reason to have a little leg stretch and whatever. And there was like a shop with adverts in, and we were even you know, looking to see if there's anything in there that might help us out. Not that any of us could speak or read French, you know. It was a wing and a prayer really. And while we were sort of stood by our bikes by this shop, a little motor's pulled up next to us. Everything okay? We could speak English. Little Frenchman. Everything okay? Yeah. We're looking for somewhere to stay. Any ideas? Oh yeah, I've got the perfect place for you. And it was essentially his place. So yeah, follow me. And we followed him, and we finished up in this like little chateau type thing right by the side of a lake. And he had something like 10 bedrooms in there. It was empty. So, you know, we sorted ourselves out with rooms and whatever. He weren't charging through the nose. I think it was like €40 each or the like. He managed to get some food because he wasn't expecting any guests, so he had not much of anything in. So he managed to get us a bit of a cold meal together, involved some salad and shit. And we literally drunk him out of beer. The amount of beer that he had in the place, we cleaned that out for him. And it was a crazy place really. It was this lovely lake we was looking over, and there was a thunderstorm in the night, and the rain that come down was ridiculous. And as a result of that thunderstorm, it woke up maybe toads or frogs or whatever. But when the storm stopped, the fucking cacophony from all these reptilian type things it was almost like musical. It was really weird. And you know, again, it's that kind of thing where would you have come across it in your normal, I'm going to this hotel, I'm going to that hotel. It's these kind of experiences that that sort of add to it. You know, I've never really come across a French person in rural France that has never been sort of helpful. There was a group of how many of us were there? Three of us. We went and we stayed up in the Alps, close to the Grand Saint Bernard tunnel, and it was like a ski lodge and whatever. And when we were coming home, I had the Daytona 675, the Triumph Daytona 675 on that trip. And when we were coming home, we come out of the Alps and we wanted to make it to the hotel that we had booked, and it was somewhere near Châlons-Champagne, and we wanted to make it to the hotel because England were playing a match in I think it was either the European Championships or, well, I can't remember whether it was the World Cup or the European Championships, but we wanted to get to the hotel and sat in front of a TV to watch the game. And we literally ragged the fuck out of our bikes to get there. It was a bit of a journey, but we were properly wringing their necks to make it there. And basically, in doing that, I've fucked the regulator on my bike, and I didn't realise this at the time. And we watched the game or whatever. Got up the next morning, and we're on our way. The A26, we're going down to Calais. And we got to probably about 15 mile outside of Rennes, which is where I'm going in a couple of days. And my bike just fucking conked out on me, pulled over, and it turns out that the regulator was fucked. So, called roadside assistance, spoke to the insurance and all that. And I basically finished up staying in a hotel in Rennes on my own, because the other guys, although they've got the same kind of insurance as me, their insurance companies won't pay them to stay with me. As far as they're concerned, there's nothing wrong with their bikes, and there's no reason why they can't get home, so they're not going to fork out for a hotel. So I finished up staying in Rennes on my own, and it was a really weird thing. It's the first time I've been abroad like that on my own, and the difference being is that this trip I'm on at the moment, I've chosen to do it, and at that particular time I hadn't, and I felt kind of lost in a way. I went out for something to eat, I was surrounded by people obviously not speaking my language, and it felt a little bit lonely, whereas this time I've chosen to do it, and I actually don't feel the same. But on that particular trip, the bike got fixed, sorted out for me late the next morning, and I was heading down. I was going to get the train home rather than the ferry, because I had to rebook anyway, so I thought I might as well get the train, and I'll sort the train out when I get there. So I've got onto the A26 and I'm heading towards Calais, and we've been on the A26. This is probably about 4 or 5 times we've been over now, so I've got an idea of where I am in relation to service stations and stuff like that. And I've come out of the place where they fixed the bike, and I've got like half a tank, and I know that there's a service station on the A26 not too far really from where we are, certainly half a tank's worth. So when I've got on the A26, I'm chuntering along, beautiful, and then when I get to the service area to where I'm going to fill up, the fucking thing's closed for refurbishment. So now I'm in fucking trouble, because I haven't got juice. I certainly know I haven't got juice to get to the next services, and I'm fuck. So I finished up coming off one of the next sort of exits, you like, which is basically a turn right off of the A26, 2 toll booths, and then your turn right or left onto a fucking country road. And I've done exactly that. I've come to the T junction. I've looked over to the right, and I can see some rooftops, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it's a town of sorts. Hopefully they'll have some form of fuel stations. You find a lot of rural towns basically have a fuel pump outside somebody's house. It's a strange thing. And I've gone down into this town, and I'm literally on fumes now. And it's I'm in fucking trouble here, and I couldn't find anything. There wasn't anything there, and I've pulled up at the side of the road opposite what looks like a farm type building, and there's a nipper in the sort of big sort of parking area, if you like, playing with his football. And I'm looking at my bike, and I've back in those days we didn't have the phones, believe it or not. The phones weren't a thing for us then. It was, mobile phones were a very new thing, and at best it would be a Nokia. I didn't have a phone, but at best it would be one of them sort of Nokias, which is just a phone, And I'm looking at my maps, and I'm trying to figure out, like, where am I? Where's the most likely place for a fuel thing to be? And the little boy had obviously gone in and called his mum. His mum had come out to me, and she didn't speak English, and I didn't speak French. I say I didn't speak French. I don't I don't fucking speak French. I can maybe order a ham and cheese sandwich and a coffee, but that's about it. I'm very sort of Del Boyish in that respect. But and we had like a sign language conversation. Essentially, it involved me pointing at my fuel tank and shaking the bike and shaking my head. And she, 1 minute, and she's gone in, put a boy in a little Jeep thing that she had, pulled out and sort of indicated for me to follow her. So I'm now in this situation where it looks like she's taking me to fuel, which is nice, and I'm with somebody, so if I was to run out of fuel, at least there's somebody we can work out a plan. It's brilliant. And she drove me, I think it was probably about 11 kilometres, and like I say, I was on fumes, so it was very touch and go, but she drove me about 11 kilometres into another town, slightly bigger town, and as you got into the town there was a small supermarket there with fuel pumps, and I was just I was just beside myself with gratitude, and I went over and tried to sort of thank her, and she's sort of like shaking her head and sort of the hand up, no, it's fine, and waving, and I sort of pulled my wallet out, and I gave a little boy a €10 note, just to as a sort of thank you, and she was thanks a lot, and off she fucked, never to be seen again. And it was just that thing about the English and the French thing, and this woman didn't have to do that at all, but she did, and it was just an incredibly kind thing for her to do, because I'd have been fucked. I wouldn't have known what to do about it, to be fair. So yeah, another one of those things that happens, or a couple of those things that happens on trips that are not normal. You wouldn't normally see it. So I'm just going to sit behind this slow van for a little while, and yeah, I'm going to say cheerio, and I might switch on again in for a chat about something else. Who knows? Ta-da.